All right, taking a risk day 2. Today we are going to get into it. And by the end of our little work session today, I hope we craft a strong lead that is gripping and exciting, pulls our readers in to our piece and takes them for a ride. So we've taken this journey. We looked at Justin Ablocator's essay. You looked at a variety of student taking a risk essays, and you recognized their qualities, the merit, the ways they had awesome, vivid detail and amazing word choices and a lot of heart and voice, and some that just kind of rambled and left us with a lot of loose ends and random jumps in detail and were not so good. So we know what we need to have. We need to have a quality lead that grips our reader, a ton of show versus tell detail, amazing word choices, put our inner thought, our whole experience in a tightly woven little essay. So today, we're going to do a couple things. First, I'm going to show you a student essay example, and we will share a daily essay example so that you can kind of be immersed in this is the exemplar. This is where the target is. This is where we want to be in our piece. So examples range from, I shared one on Google Classroom with you. That one is on a high ropes course, I believe. Today, I'm going to share one from a student writer on dirt biking. So every day will be something different, so you can see how other writers approached the same writing task. Today, our learning target is about, can I generate notes and ideas and examples? You want to generate a lot of ideas and plan your essay out. So we're going to structure it. We're going to use chronological organization to plan the before, the during, the after, and then kind of the aha, the so what. Why did your risk matter? What did it mean to you? So that's the first part. The second part will be then to add in some goodies, the fireball word choices. And then if we can, we hope to begin with our lead. Tomorrow we'll begin crafting the before of our piece. So at this time, I'm going to read to you. I'm going to read to you a student essay example. This student submitted this piece several years ago. He's now since graduated from high school, but I can see him very vividly in my mind. He was a kid that was brilliant, but his grades did not reflect it. He was always late with assignments and all his classes missing stuff. A lot of times he'd pull homework out, it was all crumpled and nasty, and he never knew where his stuff was. But he loved to read, and he was a brilliant writer. He had amazing vocabulary. So he handed me this essay in a series of just like scribbled out drafts on the back of other scrap pieces. And I remember saying to him, this is too good. You're going to sit down with me. We're going to type this thing up so we always have it, because your piece is so powerful. So I just share his story. So you don't have to be brilliant to be able to do this work. What you have to be able to do is remember your moment and tell it from inside of it. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? All the experience. I remember I had a kid he was writing about, he took forever to come up with this topic. And I'm like, well, what do you really love? And he loves sailing. And so he wrote about being out in Muskegon Lake in his little boat in a race. And as he's writing, he's like, I don't feel like I'm in this classroom anymore. I feel like I'm back out in that race. I feel the wind in my face. And that's what I want you to do today as well. So I will read to you. And if you just want to close your eyes and listen along as I read, that is great. That's fine. Okay. So he's talking about a little risk he had taking out his dirt bike. So here we go. See if I can make this a little bigger for you. He starts this way, and you'll notice it has a lot of figurative language. The bike is a stubborn bull that doesn't want to be ridden. I approach the wild animal of a machine, and I question if I even should. The garage smells like engine, energy, and metal. The hibernating yet experienced beast intimidates me even at rest. Cautiously, I plop down, and gas fills my nostrils, heavy and intoxicating. I know that my old, worn-down, massive bike and I are connected and overdue for a ride together. Sure enough, at first rev, it bursts out with excitement, like a noble Mustang, powerful and proud. A complex mix of joy, masculinity, and rage erupts from the engine, like he wants to prove to himself like he's still got it, as he stutters and roars, a mad bull kicking at the gate. In one everlasting moment, I take a mental note. Helmet, good. Straps, good. Courage? Still not present. My steel toes click into first gear. My busted, sweaty fingers loosen hastily, knowing what's in store. The beast lurches forward in a jerk and then slows to a belly crawl, powering forward, preparing for what limits might be pushed. Thoughts fill my head as I start to emerge from the pen. What if I fall? What if I run out of gas? In a flash, my jitters are conquered by my love of thrills. So notice I'm about a page in, and has this kid even attempted his risk yet? No, what he's doing is he's building up the before, the tension. And so that's exactly the kind of work we're going to do as well. We're going to have a before, a before, a before we actually get to the during, the heart of your moment. Feeling the adrenaline course through my body, I let out the remaining clutch. The bike roared into first gear like an uncaged lion. Zooming down the driveway, I shifted into second, and the lion began to purr a little more contented, like we'd been buddies for years. The bike and I become reacquainted and comfortable. Atop my own wild lion, I run free again. With a lap around the gravelly drive, I feel a vacation from the normal procedure of life. Coming back from my vacation, I swiftly pull into drive, and a miracle happens at my fingertips. The dirt lap around our property beckons me. Seeing this, I'm a child entering my playground. Clack, clack, I shift into first, for the sand is my enemy, first gear, my weapon. The dirt track is where I learned everything I know about dirt bikes and pushes me each time to a new level I master. So now we're in the during, the heart of his moment. Like a hunter stalking its prey, I pause to study my opponent, the track. Confidently, I rumble forward, being cooled by the wind. Despite the sweat drying on my temples, I speed down the track. I find myself struggling around the corners and glance back at how badly I've torn it up. Consequently, the harder I push my limits and lean into those speeding curves, the more I wobble. And with every wobble, anxiety begins to prick at my neck and quiver down my spine. No, I'm better than this. The harder I wobble, the more I grit and try. Hastily, I do reach an intersection where I find both fun and control. Ashamed of my former willingness to give up, I turn on the jets, cutting corners so low the ground seems inches from my face, and a cloud of dust chases at my tail. Every corner holds a smell of upturned dirt that is scorched in that afternoon heat. The churned track is a ravaged victim of this metallic beast's appetite. Satisfied with my ride, I move to its glorious end. Merged together, the bike and I unleash all throttle power in one lap of pure, wide-open pleasure. Flying on arrogance, I make a dire error. A dire, simple error. A dire, simple, idiotic error. And that is a cool ballooning technique that we will learn. An error so minuscule in movement, but yet so massive in consequences. Time stops as I fly over the handlebars. As soon as I comprehend this moment of being suspended in the air, time burns back into play again. Burying my shoulder in the dirt, the bike falls over my legs and I absorb the weight of what's happened. Lying in a pit of my own shame. Oops, I lost my spot, sorry. I maneuver to all fours and slowly rise to right my bike. Oh, it's a little heavier this time, weighted down by frustration. The monster now off me, I flip down the kickstand and rest. A weak, shameful rest. Pulling the bike up from the sandy bank on the edge of the track was having to admit my defeat again. In the midst of my slight aching, though, I rumble back to the garage, still filled with a gladness. A secret triumph washes over me as I acknowledge my risk out on the track, and I feel fulfillment. The engine has dulled to a lulling purr, telling the story of my reckless ride, and together we amble up the drive. Tale of our risk written on the dusty trail behind us. All right, so this kid, he has a ton of voice in it, a lot of figurative language. He refers to his bike as like this beast, this uncaged lion, this metallic machine. He's got all kinds of different word choices for it, which makes it seem like it's this wild, he kind of personifies the bike, which makes it lively. He does a lot of tension and building up before his actual moment, which is good. And then just the word choices, busty, sweaty, hastily. What else does he have? Reacquainted, adrenaline coursing through my body, the property beckoning me. First gear's his weapon. He's entering his playground. So many different metaphors through here. Clack, clack, there's sound. Beautiful figurative language. Obviously, he remembered our lessons on participial phrase. Coming back from my vacation, comma. Seeing this, comma. Feeling adrenaline course through my body, comma. Zooming down the driveway, comma. So it's not just, I did this, then this happened, right? So it's really cool. He goes moment by moment. We talked about action verbs this year. The beast is lurching forward, powering forward, preparing, thoughts filling his head. He's emerging. So this is a great thing. And I think he's proud of it and has a lot of pleasure in writing it because he wrote about what he loved. So I would invite you now to pull up your little taking a risk document from Google Classroom called Taking a Risk. I will pause and I will meet you right there. Or you pause and meet me back in just a sec. Okay, so Taking a Risk, view assignment, you'll find your own. This little document here at the top, yesterday you generated some possible story ideas. Today I want you to highlight, star, pick the one you want to go with, the one you feel most passionate about or the one you really remember the most vividly, okay? Because that's going to be great. Before we start our work today, you will be pausing, making an arm pillow, make a movie in your mind. Good writers have to recall the events vividly, so I will ask you to do that. Okay, so you took yourself out of your comfort zone with this risk that you've chosen, and right here, we're just going to do a little planning. Here's a student example. This kid was trying to surf. Now notice, it's chronological order of time, but he has before, during, after, and then the aha, would you learn, the so what, the closing. Why so much before? Why do you think? What is having multiple paragraphs or a longer before even the heart, the actual risk? Why does that matter? Well, if you're thinking that it intrigues the reader, if you're thinking it builds suspense and drama and tension, you would be right. And you think about a story, we have that long rising action before we even get to the big climactic moment, okay? So this kid is trying to surf, right? First part is going to be, what are you doing? So in this part, we're just going to put like, what's happening? He's getting thrashed by the waves, right? He wants to show the danger of his setting. So he might put in like howling winds, feeling the current pulling him. Maybe he wants to talk about the cloudy gunmetal gray sky, maybe storms brewing. More about the before. He's gripping his board, his first attempt. He's going to go for it, and he's going to put in maybe some inner thought, trying to summon his courage, what he's talking to himself, saying like, you can do it, man. You've got this. And then, boom, he had a little failed attempt. He crashes into the frigid, cold, unforgiving water. And he'll talk about the feeling of that, the impact as his skin smacks against the surface. All right, Mr. Cheney could do better with this. He's a surfer. And then the during. That will be the heart of your moment. Now, for some of us, the during is only a few seconds long, right? You go off that jump on your snowboard. For one moment, I dangled for the heavens. For one moment, nothing else mattered. For one moment, time stopped, right? Talk about that breathless moment. So he hangs on for balance. He tries to ride, and he rides away, wave all the way to shore. Like, whoa, I feel the water rushing beneath me, my board powering forward, and boom, I crash into the sand, right? And then trots up on a shore like a hero, his friends hollering in awe. And then, I realize I really have to believe in myself and not give up before investing a full effort. So if you do this little thinking and planning first, your piece is just going to flow together. I just want you to have a before, a during, and an after. You're too old for me to tell you how many paragraphs it has to be, but it needs to be at least a before, a during, and after. So at least 3. But some people have 5, some people have 7, some people just have 3, some have multiple befores, the during, the after. However you want to do it, you just have to structure it that way. All right, I'm going to show you a few more examples before you begin this work. I want to head over to this student. This student last year was, her risk was traveling to Australia on a plane ride. So that's the event. And then over here, she's going to put different sensory description, dialogue, inner thought, all the goodies that we've learned. So the before, driving to the airport. What was she experiencing during that time? What was she thinking? What did she see? What happened? All right, hands shaking as you travel close to the airport, the nightmarish O'Hare Airport. Saying goodbye. Hugging my dad, my brother, promising them we'll call them before takeoff, right? Maybe one last backward glance, smells, sights, sounds of the airport. The before, waiting, freaking out on the plane, right? She's going to put her nerves are more and more evident. She hears some music nearby. It's starting to soothe her. And then the risk, clenching the seat so hard her knuckles are turning white. The plane rumbles to life with a burst of energy. We're above Chicago, flying out of Illinois, whoa, being in flight. The after, flying safely but nervous. She's too scared to shut her eyes, afraid of what might be lurking in the depths. And then just what did she realize from her risk? And usually, we'll talk about it later, but usually it's you realize how strong you are. You realize that risk can be fun. So my risk was a failure, right? So maybe I realized your risk might have taught you to be more cautious or think before you do, look before you leap. All right, another writer. This is our friend, Mrs. McCaskey. Shout out to her students. And she had a really special grandma in her life. They were so close. She was really like almost like a mom to her, and she mentored her through her life. And then later, Mrs. McCasty did a lot of care for her grandma, and she had to get her risk was getting up in front of everybody to give her grandma's eulogy, to give a speech and honor her life. And so the before she's going to talk about being at St. Francis and the Cold Cement Gray Church, and give a little background on her grandma, her sweet little 98-year-old grandma. Was a tiny little thing that used to sit on cushions just to be able to reach over her steering wheel to drive. And she always had, Miss McCasty has a lot of great connections and stories about her grandma. But she's going to she's not going to just start at waking up in the morning, right? That might be a little boring. She's going to start closer to her actual risk, right? So arriving at the church, shaking like a leaf. It was windy, clinging to a tree branch. What was she thinking? I don't think I can do it. I asked my dad to cover for me just in case. There's no mic, tons of people, 150 people, standing room only. The place is packed, and here she is, right? How did she feel? So she might put details like bong bong with the bells, everybody dressed in black. It was a sunny, cool day. And her thought, why did I make that promise? Her heart was falling into her knees, right? Your knees going weak, where your blood turns to ice, but your face gets hot, like that panicky moment that you feel. She'll have a lot of before. The during, what was it like up there giving that speech? She's looking around. She stands up, walks to the podium, tells herself, I can do that. Maybe a deep breath, looking down at her paper. The words go blurry, speaking clearly, reminding herself to slow down. So in your moment, you're going to tell it from inside it, right? Not just, I went off the jump. I'm a skateboard. I made it. It's good. Okay. I gave a speech about my grams. People liked it, right? She's going to really honor this moment and what it means in her life. So things about, your heart hammering in your chest, hoping she wouldn't die on the spot. So over here, these are the left side is just the events, what is going on in your moment. These are just different word choices, special techniques, things you want to add. And then stepping down, walking back to her seat, this weight lifted off you, the relief, right? His face still burning hot though, right? Thank you, Miss McCaskey. And let's look at one more. I think I got a colorful one in here. Oh, we looked at this one. Okay, this is a nice one. Top Thrill Dragster riding a coaster at Cedar Point. And I like this because it's a great little short moment. I got to get in line. My dad says, okay, it only works on days that aren't windy. Let's go. So she's talking about the smell, the cotton candy, the popcorn of the amusement park. Those are different sensory details that are going to be part of this waiting in line. Before, watching the rides go before me. Now, if you're standing in line at Michigan's Adventure, you're watching the coaster zoom by in front of you, and you're, maybe it's Shivering Timbers, and you see that track just shaking, and it looks like a pile of toothpicks are just going to come down and crash, and everybody's brains are going to splatter onto the concrete, and you're like, oh, I'm next, right? You feel the whoosh and the power of it as it blows by as you're waiting in line, right? And you watch people like dazed green zombies stagger off the ride, and then you're next, right? And the bar comes down on you, and you feel like a caged animal, like, oh no, right? You got to tell it from inside. Sweaty palms, all of that. And then her heart's racing. The employee's going over the rule, like, and have fun. Okay. Then the during. What's it like, right? What is the moment like? Your feet grinding into the floorboards, death grip on that safety bar. It's pulling you up out of your seat. Jostling your brain, the wind in your face, all of that. And then the after, right? The coaster coming into the terminal. It almost breathing a sigh of relief as you exhale. And then, what'd you learn? Was it joyful? Was it awesome? Your deal. So, it's go time. I would like for you to put your little cursor up here at before and pause. Pause my video, make a little arm pillow, and I want you to press play on the movie in your mind. And I want you to play your risk in your head. And when you're ready, you can resume my video. Okay. Did you get to relive that awesome experience? So I want you to put in what are 3 parts to your before. So if it's like a roller coaster, it might be like walking up and then getting in line and then inching closer and the riders leave before you get on, you're next. Those are the 3 befores, okay? What are your 3 little befores? Or if it's fine if you just have 2, but you need a couple leading up to it. Identify the actual during. What's the after, right? You're cruising back into the terminal. And then we'll talk about later what you learned. So I want you to just put in some details here, the action. And then over on the right-hand side, what are some of the great things you remember? Great word choices, action verbs, inner thoughts. So if you go to Google Classroom, on all of our classroom pages under classroom resources, we've got rich word choices for you to use. So map out your little risk, and then when you're ready, you've done that, think about like sensations you felt, tingling spine, swirling thoughts, blurry vision, all of that. And then you can go down to classroom resources, language arts help sheets, and we're going to have amazing word choices for you to use. I think the action verbs are going to be powerful and the adjectives. How did you feel in your moment? So if you need some fireball word choices, go here. Oh. Pause for a second. Okay, so you can scroll down and you need some great fast verbs like leaping, lunging, nabbing, dodging, slow words, plodding, pacing, okay? More action verbs for catching something, for chasing, for cheering, for changing, okay? So after you map out your risk, I want you to fill in your notes and planning with some amazing word choices. That is your first task for today, okay? So notes and planning, add those amazing word choices. I'm not grading the notes and planning, but this is for you to be able to springboard into your writing. So spend 10, 15 minutes today with that. And then when you're ready, I'm going to give you some ideas for some leads, which will be the beginning of our work tomorrow. Okay. So this side put different actions and pieces of your risk story moments. This side put like thoughts, description, word choices, things that you might want to use. Okay. I'll keep this up if you want to pause and do that work. And then I will share leads at the end. See you in a sec. Okay, hopefully you filled this little grid out with mapping out your story, the before, during, after, the story moment details, and then cool things that you want to include, like the bong bong of things you heard, inner thoughts, like why did I make that promise, things you felt, my heart falling to my knees. Okay, so if you didn't take a few more moments to do that, put what your coach said to you, what your friend said, come on, man, let's do it, right? The wind cutting into the corners of your hoodie as you're heading out under the bone white moon to go ding-dong ditching, just like the good stuff, the little techniques, the things you don't want to forget to add. Some of you are going to be ready to just start and you want to get a lead before you go any further today. And where are you going to write this thing? You scroll and roll down and you'll be able to write this right below your notes and your planning, okay? So if you scroll and roll down, we have a place for you to begin. And all I want you to do today is try for a lead. How do I start? That is a great question. If you're like most of us, starting, that's the hardest thing to do, right? You got this blank Google Doc staring you in the face, and you're like, what? So we took care of that. Under taking a risk, we have a student essay example. Read that one, enjoy it. It's on the High Ropes course. We've got some student help slides. We've got some writing tricks. We're going to get to those. But I want you to click on strong leads and know that we're going to be working on this writing all next week too. Okay. It's not due until I'm going to give you a due date window of Friday, December 11th to Monday, December 14th. Okay. So you have about a week. Interest grabbing leads. You can start with action. Bam! A cloud of dust erupted and the pitch screamed in the catcher's mitt. Another batter was struck out, right? And you know you're up next. So a person used that one and they talked about taking a risk to bunt at the plate and how that played out. That was pretty cool. Dialogue is an effective way. If you start with dialogue, somebody talking, it puts the readers right in your moment. You're next, he announced sternly. Oh, how those two words struck terror in my heart. Description is great, and I actually took all of these examples right off 7th grade writers' essays. This girl, she was writing about being in dance, the Little Match Girl Ballet. Stepping into the dazzling stage lights, a cold shiver raced down my spine. The monstrous ski jump loomed ahead with all its foreboding height and glory. If you want to get real personal, start with inner thoughts. What is coursing through your mind in your risk? As I strapped into the climbing harness, the past 12 years flashed before me, and I wondered, will I make it to the top? Or, it's now or never, I told myself. This kitty wrote about trying to go out on some thin ice. Not the brightest, but a life-threatening moment faced me one cold January day. Or, here's another one. It should have been one of the most exciting days of summer, but it wasn't. So tension is a great way to start. Here's just a list of possible story moments if you need it. So this document is shared with you. Your job today is to plan out, do some notes and planning, and then when you're ready, attempt a lead. Okay, I'll meet you back here for tomorrow's work. We're going to actually begin developing the before. All right, thank you guys. Hit me up with questions or your English teachers. Happy writing. I can't wait to read your risk.